Hello, everybody. Welcome to ekincare channel. I'm Tarun. I'm the moderator for today's podcast. The topic of podcast today is how to deal with the stress during this COVID lockdown. I'm here with Miss Priyanka, clinical and counseling psychologist. She heads the Hyderabad division of the Symbiosis Center for Emotional Wellbeing. Miss Priyanka, thanks for joining me for the podcast today.
Thank you, Tarun. So, what do you think we should begin with today?
Today, I think this whole lockdown has really been stressful for a lot of people. I
Mhm.
think, how about we start off the podcast by how does one approach his day? How does he schedule his day?
Honestly speaking, due to the COVID 19, there has been so much of a switch in the mass routine working for professionals. There has been such an upheaval for people who are so built on their entire structure of traveling and getting to work and doing their regular schedule from day to day. And now, with their entire structure thrown out of schedule or out of bounds, they don't really know what to do. So honestly, in this chaotic and uncertain time, the most reliable thing that we can lean on right now is building a structure to our day and having like a framework of how we would like to go on with our day, so that it doesn't make us feel overwhelmed and absolutely out of place. So maybe getting up on time, get showered, get dressed, and try to maintain your sense of routine to as much as possible. Since a lot of us are working from home, so designating a special workspace for you that is completely devoid of any distractions. There is no clutter. You know that place is meant only for work and nothing else. Having a schedule for your tasks, your daily routines, probably also your meals, and throwing in some amount of activity. Also, in terms of exercise, in terms of self care routines, all of that also works really well for you. And most importantly, at the end of your workday, it's very important to put aside your laptop, your mobile, everything related to work, and spend some quality time with your family and friends.
Okay.
But not all of us are really stuck with our family and friends also as well, right? A
Yeah.
lot of us have got stuck at home with strangers,
Yeah.
roommates, a lot of people that we are unfamiliar with, and probably a lot of different routines as well. Now,
Yes.
in situations like these, because of the lockdown being so unpredictable, it came at such a sudden stage where we were suddenly told that, you know what, from tonight, 12 o'clock, it's a lockdown.
Yeah.
Can't go back to our homes. So, a lot of people have had difficulty going about that as well, isn't it, Tarun?
Yes, there are people who are them. It was unplanned, so not everyone is comfortable or they've expected the people who they've been locked down with. So, for
Right.
instance, I know people who are locked down with completely strangers.
Hmm.
I know situations where the families are split apart. There's
Right.
one family is in a different place. So yeah, it's a quite stressful situation. I don't know how we approach. One should approach. How does he embrace the people who's because your access towards the entire people is limited.
Hmm.
So he gets to interact with a small pool of people he has.
Correct.
What does he or she do there?
So it's a very unfamiliar environment that you're stuck in. If you're back home with family, there is still that comfort of being at home. But not for everyone is your family or your home space also a safe space or some place that you're comfortable. Because there'd be noise, there could be distractions. And even when you're living with strangers, there are a lot of different working styles, different communication patterns that come up at these point in times. And spending and lockdown where you're stuck together all the time becomes extremely difficult. So there may be unexpected frustration, anger, and not really knowing the right way of how to deal with it because you can't even get out of the situation being stuck at home. So there are certain ways that you can deal with it. Now, first thing would probably be label out your expectations. If you need a certain amount of space, a certain number of hours to be working in a particular area, let it be known to the people that you're living with that this is the separate area that you need to be absolutely a noise-free environment. If you work with music, then let them know that this is how I work. Would you be comfortable with it?
Yes.
Communicating becomes very important, especially with unknown strangers, where you understand not just your own comfort zones, but the comfort zones of others as well.
Yes.
Planning out and separating your own workspaces, timing them in accordance to the other people that you're living with, because sometimes because of the extra workload on the internet as well, there may be lags which may affect your work, and that in turn might cause more stress and anxiety. So planning timing becomes very important. Take breaks, get to know the person as well, because communication is, of course, important. And most importantly, in in the world of technology, keeping yourself connected with your friends and family who are not really close to you right now, but the strangers or the random roommates that are there with you, they
Yeah.
become your source of comfort. Now,
Yeah.
tell me, it sounds like you have something to add to it.
I think yes, I think one should learn how does he feel comfort around the people, and because it's a common problem everyone is facing. So
Hmm.
they empathize, they understand what you're going through. So it's better, communication is the only key that you would advise, or is there anything else apart from? So it's a small group which is locked down now. You don't know when the lockdown is going to open up. Is it the communication is key there?
So, look, communication is one of the key essentials that helps you at least release your own expressions of emotions as well as release the stress that you have. But along with that, there is so much social media influence and so many things that we are doing these days that the
Yeah.
resources that we are exposed to are so many, and we don't even know what really can we rely on. So,
Okay.
reaching out to the right resources and being able to establish your facts from myths and also understanding the differences. One of the most important things, along with communication, would be understanding the diversity and the differences. As
Okay.
novel as the situation is, there is also a lot of differences among the people that we are meeting or the people that we are stuck with.
Yes.
Getting to know them, understand and identifying their patterns or the way they are comfortable in certain means, and also establishing your patterns of comfort becomes very important. At this point in time, you can also do certain things that make it comfortable to be with the individual at the same time. Say, in terms of develop a hobby together, play card games, play board games. And in terms of when it comes to social media, stay away from myths as much as possible. It is crucial for us to keep ourselves informed about the current news and the updates of the COVID 19. But the media is very driven towards their own benefits and their own purposes. So it becomes very important that we identify the facts and the credibility of the sources that we are relying on. And the information that we have can also go a long way in alleviating the anxiety that we have. So it is important that, of course, reach out to the right sources, look up the right information, speak to people about what they know and what are your insecurities of the situation. Because, as you know, the stress is a shared community as of right now. We can all bond over the fact that we are all equally stressed because of the unpredictability of the situation. And also, then we have to have proactive measures to actually maintain a sense of stability in our environment so that we don't alleviate the crisis a lot more than there is. So it is quite natural for us to feel despair at this point in time. So making sure that our plans can be planned for a future tense, not just saying that what's the point of it altogether. Planning, looking forward to things, and being able to adapt to changes, and of course reaching out to the right resources that are coming from the WHO. Our own government has initiated certain websites and pages that are absolutely stable and are providing us the right amount of information is great for us to reach out to. Um, Stress eating, I believe, is another one of the things that comes across with this situation. With all the free time that we have, we tend to, divert and go on to certain things in life that is comfortable to us, and we reach out to our comfort zone, and food is definitely one among them. And Netflix and chill, as we call it, is one of the key things that people do reach out to in this situation. But in terms of Netflix and chill as well, what's the first thing that we end up doing? That's almost eating or stress eating as well. But, or probably even boredom eating for that matter. A lot of us do indulge in a lot of eating when we have free time. And what better than food, to be honest, right? But then food also comes with its own set of implications in terms of with no activity and a lot of food intake, you may put on weight. It may not be so healthy for your lifestyle, especially with the given amount of changes. So it becomes important that we get a control on that situation as well. Tarun, what do you think about
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ms. Priyanka. Absolutely. So, could you please give us some light on? So, a lot of people are doing work from home now.
Mhm.
Earlier, they're not used to work from home. So, how does one balance his work life without stress? Because I know multiple people, it's a common opinion what I've heard when
Mhm.
we were planning this podcast is people are a different person altogether when they
Right.
work and when they like to keep their personal life different.
Mhm.
Now, since there's a margin in both the lives, how does one approach it?
So structuring your environment becomes very important. Again, maintaining the distance and the discipline between your work life and your personal life being very important. You cannot let both mix, because then again, when that happens, now think about it. If you're munching a meal while taking a meeting, it doesn't come across as very professional now, does it? At the
Yeah.
same time, when you're spending time with family, but you're sitting there and answering emails, you're not really dedicating your attention to that point in, to the activity that you're indulging in at that point in time. And that just causes conflict. Conflict again gives rise to stress, and it's like a continuous cycle that goes on where people are not able to, distinguish your work from your personal life. So being
Okay.
able to maintain that distance between your work and your personal life becomes important. Schedule your day. That means a couple of hours. If you give 8 hours at work on your daily schedule, 8 hours should be your work schedule for right now, and try to get done with all your work during that time.
Okay.
Take breaks. Taking breaks is again very important, because when you're sitting back at home, it is not the same environment like when you're at work. So it almost tends to get very overlapped, and you don't have that structure. So when you keep taking those breaks, like you would at office for your tea break, or getting up to somebody else's desk and speaking to them for a little while, the same thing can be established here, where you dedicate, say, half an hour breaks or 20-minute breaks as per your convenience, of course. You take those breaks from time to time so that it also refreshes your mind and your mood.
Okay.
And then again, when you're refreshing your mind and mood, don't just go grab the first meal that you can find over there. Or don't pick up an activity that you would find that will completely throw you off from your schedule. So
Okay.
timing yourself becomes very important. That probably, okay, I'm going to watch one episode of a show, or I'm going to watch a couple of YouTube videos, listen to three songs that fits into my timeline, or play one game of cards with my family. Something of the sort that acts as a distraction. It works as a stress reliever. At the same time, helps you structure everything and create a balance. Because what
Okay.
is most important right now is creating a balance between your work life and your personal life within the same atmosphere.
Yes, that's very important. A lot of
Mhm.
people are trying to readjust their entire day schedule, uh, restructure it, and get used to the new normal. We don't know how long will this lockdown go, so trying to really get the best out of it.
See, like you just mentioned, normal, right? Everybody's definition of normal is very different. What may be normal to me might not be the normal to you. So, trying to make comparative standards in terms of, oh my God, the other person is doing this, so I must be able to do it too. In terms
Okay.
of, a lot of people are now picking up new hobbies or new skills for their own selves.
Yeah.
But picking up skills is not something necessarily everybody has the time for. I
Uh,
probably do have the time to pick up a new skill and do something, or I might go back to my long lost hobbies that I once had. But for a
yeah.
lot of people, it is also about, picking up and doing the household chores all by themselves, taking care of the family, taking care of their work, and being able to cater to everything else at the same time without any help of any house helps or anybody else. In other
Okay.
circumstances, we do have house helps for a lot of the chores that are listed up. Right now, cooking, cleaning, managing, all of that is all on you. It is
Yes.
brilliant if you can work together with your partners, with your family, designate chores, create an environment where you have shared responsibility. That tends to ease off the burden from an individual and reduce your stress about the situation as well.
Uh,
But if,
in, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
In the same line, can we connect it to the earlier discussion? Because not everyone is trying to share their daily works of the household, because
Hmm.
some people are with stranger roommates. So how does
Right.
one? Well, they used to have some maid coming in. Now there's a minimum communication between them, but they have to really get their daily household needs together.
Hmm.
Uh,
So,
so in
right. So, understanding and establishing boundaries are very important. Also, setting up something that we call expectations and limitations. Now, expectations are what I expect out of myself and of the other person that I'm living with as well. And limitations are, okay, there are certain chores that I'm not really good at or I'm not comfortable doing. So rather than just expecting the other person to do it automatically and then getting frustrated that it's not getting done, it's very important that we voice out these limitations that we have. Say, for example, I'm not great at washing utensils.
okay.
So I asked my roommate, or I asked them, would you be comfortable doing that? Then I would take on the other bit of the responsibility, probably could be laundry. So, sharing your responsibility and setting out your expectations and your limitations, both your own and of the person that you're living with, becomes important. If there is hostility in that situation, say by any chance the two people living together are not really comfortable with each other, well, we always have ways, right? Stick post-its, right? Leave little notes behind, and then also probably ask. I mean, if you're living with somebody in whatever situation there is, there would be a minimum amount of communication. So rather than just directing orders to the person that I want you to do this, using more I-based statements saying, I would like if you could help me out with this, or I would like if you could do this with me. I believe we could do this together would really be helpful in that situation to build at least a stable form of rapport between the two people living together.
Okay. Um, so little extending in the similar time scenario. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of travel time which is saved now. People are staying back at their home.
Okay.
So there's a lot of free time which is left out. Sometimes you are left out with time where you're just alone. How does one structure his thoughts, and how, if possible, how does he channelize that time to something else productive?
So that you really have picked up an important point over here because, like they say, an empty mind is a devil's workshop, right? With all the free time at hand, we're all about thinking about everything that's going on, the panic, the information, the misinformation for that matter. And then there is so much time to think about, your own stand in life. What are you looking at? And mostly, as human tendency goes, we tend to focus on all the negatives that are there around us. But one important way of diverting our mind from all the negatives that are there and the negativity in the environment is to channelize that energy into something positive, definitely positive and productive at the same time. So, channelizing your energies into something positive would basically include turning all your what if thoughts into what if positive thoughts. So, what if this doesn't work out? What if I'm stuck here forever? What if things don't get better? What if I do fall sick? So, taking all of those negative thoughts and turning them into positives, or trying to at least channelize that in a direction that says, what if I turn out to be a better person post this lockdown? What if I'm able to find a new skill within me? What if I find something new to do? So, taking the same thought process of what ifs and turning it into something positive. Because if I tend to tell myself, you know what, no, 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 I'm not going to think about this, it's almost like that reverse psychology thought that we always have. Karan, if I tell you, don't think of an elephant, what's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Elephant.
Of course. So, that is what it is about, that we cannot just push aside our thoughts, but
Yeah.
channelizing them helps. So, asking yourself questions in terms of what is this important for me to think about right now? What about it is bothering me? Can I do something about it? If yes, what can I do about it? If no, why am I thinking about it? Then
Okay.
before it's almost like breaking it down into a flowchart and channelizing your thought process rather than just cutting it out and saying, "नहीं मुझे इस बारे में नहीं सोचना," or "I don't really want to think about it at this point in time."
Okay.
Also replacing that thought with something productive, saying that, okay, now that I do have this free time and I'm thinking of something pointless, why don't I take all of that time and use it for something rather productive? You can take up a hobby, you can take up a new skill. A lot of people are indulging in a lot of cooking, cleaning, also reading, listening to music. It's a productive use of your time, along with some form of active exercise is great. Go down and take a walk, spend some time, probably not all of us have balconies, but you can always go down and take a walk just by yourself. Listen to some music, sit out in the balcony, sit by the window, watch that sunrise or sunset maybe. Because in our regular day life, we don't really get that chance to do that. And you'd be surprised with the amount of quiet that there is around. There are so many novel birds and insects that have really come out, and you can actually see them and
Yeah.
spend some time with nature, to be really honest.
Ms. Priyanka, you mentioned what if you fall sick. So it need not be that someone is fallen sick for COVID-19, but
Mhm.
in regards to if a person is fallen sick or one of his closest person, his family member is fallen sick, and if at all that family member is in a different place,
Right.
how does one? It's a thought to be really worried about. It's a genuine thing.
Mhm.
It's not like a devil's workshop. That stress is very real. How does one? What does he tell himself?
Right. It what you pick up is a very valid point because it is there is a lot of weather change. We are stuck in that transition where it is now turning from winter to summer, and in some places it has also been raining, at least down south.
Yeah.
So The weather change, there has been a lot of health issues that also come up, and you have symptoms that are very similar to what is the COVID-19 symptoms. The first step that we can do is reach out to the right reliable sources mentioned by the WHO and our government. See if you fall into that same symptom spectrum, and reach out by calling up your local practitioner and your doctor, because there is no point going and hoarding in that area where you hoard with the crowd and also probably be more susceptible with your immunity system being down and catching on more infections or viruses rather than the disease you already have. So first, make a phone call to the practitioner that's available, speak to them about your symptoms, and see if the over the counter medication can work for you, or the first aid kits that we all have at home, we can reach out to that and use that. If any family member is sick, follow the same practice for them as well. Sanitization, cleaning of your hands, drinking warm water, these are just basics that we've always been spoken about, but bringing them into practice right now is extremely important. What is most important out of all of this is to remain calm, because the minute we let the stress get the better of us, is it takes on a whole cycle altogether. We're
Yes.
affecting our eating patterns, we're affecting our sleeping patterns, our immunity system automatically goes down, and that automatically makes us so much more susceptible to catching on other diseases, if not the one in particular that we're talking about, which is the COVID-19.
Okay.
So definitely have your meals on time. Try sleeping on time. Keep the anxiety at bay by some form of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is when you take into account your surroundings. When you're eating your meals, don't keep YouTube open or don't keep any other distraction open. Concentrate on your food at that point in time. And
Okay.
then just try keeping calm by deep breathing and meditation. And I think that should be the best way that you can deal with the situation.
Thank you, Ms. Priyanka. Thank you for the valuable insights. So we'll go ahead and take some questions in the comments below. So we have Shankya. She asked about how about spending time during weekends mentally.
Take a
So
break.
weekends are
Honestly,
the most tough, right? Because you're not even with work, and the entire day you are stuck in the lockdown. And probably most of the people try channelizing most of the household works to the weekends. And okay, so she asks about how does one spend time during weekends mentally.
honestly, I think it's the best time you can take a break, because all through our work life schedule, we're so dependent on weekends that we're looking forward to that free time. And right now should be no different. Use your weekend time to actually spend time reading, doing up your pending work, spending time with your loved ones, and most importantly, just take some time out for yourself. Now, weekends also become the time that, because we do have the free time at hand, we would probably end up binge eating or stress eating or probably boredom eating as well. So, what becomes important is that we also learn how to schedule our meals at that point in time. Just because it's the weekend, don't let your timing go completely out of whack. Have a structure to your life even at that point in time, where that is prioritized on relaxation rather than work.
Okay.
And relaxation is subject to your own opinion. Find it the way you like it to be, and I think you'll be good.
So moving on to the next question, we have the question from Deepankar. Is there any limit on how much time I should watch news in a day, or should I stop it for full? Like fully, should I stop it? I get stressed out watching news on Corona.
Yes, the news and the media definitely have been at an upheaval with all the corona talk. So, probably limiting yourself again to the right resources. Watch news that is talking primarily about the problem. And I think 30 minutes a day covers everything, because news channels, as you know, keep going on things on loop. Again, if you reach out to the government platform and WHO, they have the right updates. Also, the new app that has been launched by the government has the right amount of information that is talking about exactly what you need to know and how much you need to know about it. So, definitely limit yourself from anything that stresses you out too much. 30 minutes in the day seems perfect for it.
Okay. So this would answer another viewer question also. He has a similar question saying that the whole news is causing anxiety and very high tendency to check news frequently, which is adding more stress. How to deal with it? It's come from someone called BP. I hope it answers your question too. So let's move on to another question.
Mhm.
Uh, it's, it's quite difficult to follow your decided schedule. Sometimes it gets disturbed because of other household works. This is by Nikhil Kadam. Miss Priyanka, how what does Nikhil have to do?
So, Nikhil, what you come up with is a very valid point because we can't always stick to the structure that we are planning for ourselves. So, always leave yourself some amount of buffer time. It's a good idea that if you're keeping 45 minutes of work, leave 15 minutes as break time so that even if there is a distraction that comes in the middle, you always have that buffer time to come and catch up with the work that you got distracted from. Also, as much as possible, try sticking to your schedule by informing the people around you as well and telling them that this is my time for work. Everything that, until and unless it's an emergency or absolutely important, leave it for that buffer time or the time that you're taking your break.
So we have a last three questions.
Mhm.
Krishna asks that currently a lot of webinars, Zoom, Skype, phone call during work from home. It's creating irritation. It is healthy to use. Is it healthy to use so much laptop, mobile phone? How to manage the stress?
Well, it is an unpredictable situation at this point in time, and technology is as much a boon as a bane for us right now. And screen time has definitely significantly increased. So, that is why taking breaks, even from your screen time, or scheduling meetings in a way that you can give yourself adequate breaks, take some relaxation time so that you're not always glued to your phone. Make sure that when you take your breaks, out of that 15 minutes is only for your phone time where you're scrolling through your social media profiles, because an excess of that as well tends to be a source of stress and anxiety. With people following these new trends and challenges, you feel like you're either missing out or you have the need to fit in. So limiting your time to how much you are exposing yourself to screen time would help. And of course, knowing where your limits are and what is good, healthy, and appropriate for you is most important. If you feel that it is causing you an excessive amount of stress, stay away from it and find a replacement. I'm sure it's not that hard.
So the last two questions. The next question would be Sangeeta. Sangeeta says it is very difficult for the profiles who are working as inside sales executive, even though we cannot make calls as nobody is available to pick up the calls due to the lockdown. I think she's going through the stress of inside sales executive. So there's a lot of pressure on bringing in a lot of conversions. How does
Right.
one? So based on different designations and departments, let's talk about a marketing department, sales department. In these aspects, how does this department approach the whole stress during this lockdown?
It is understandable that a lot of people are not really reciprocating back to your calls and reaching out to you because there is not much you can really do at this point in time. But you can channelize your energies into research and also finding out about your strengths and weaknesses and of the situation as well. Identify your patterns of work and the things that you have been doing so long, whether they've been working in your favor or not. Creating SWOT analysis for yourself and your situation helps. So it is not a complete waste of your time or it is not unproductive either, but you're channelizing and using your time in a lot of research, finding out the right sources. This is the time that you're getting for yourself to one, work on yourself, and second, work on your professional front as well to be able to work on the misgivings or the things that you can improvise on in these situations. So maybe you're not able to communicate and probably sell to a particular person at this point in time, but you can always gather your resources and keep them ready for a time that the lockdown's done with, and you can get to it almost immediately.
Okay, so she upgrades her question saying that during this intense, most of the work is happening on the phone. How to deal with the managers, the superiors, the higher officials?
Yes, definitely. There may be a lot of micromanaging that's going on and a lot of pressure from superiors as well, because they also are in this state of conflict where they have to get something done. There are targets that need to be achieved, but then the situation is just so novel. So at this point in time, communication is the strongest suit that you have in your armor right now. So speak to your managers about your problems. Make sure you're using I statements in terms of I think that this would be a better approach, or I believe I could do this better in this situation, or I feel like so and so would be a better approach for me, or for us, or for the company in general. Being able to explain your needs in that situation would definitely help, because your managers also do understand what you're going through and would try to be as supportive as they can in this situation.
Sangeeta, I hope that answers your question. We are heading to the last question of the podcast. The last question is by Shoaib. Shoaib, Mr. Shoaib asks, what advice would you give to calm down our family members, more especially elders who are stressed out and it's causing a tense atmosphere at home?
Right, they are more susceptible to the misinformation one that there is, because they believe everything that they see on the internet, right? So explaining to them, and let's think about it in this way: we as a generation understand the situations around us a little better, and we can channelize and understand everything that's going on around us. So explaining to them, spending some quality time with them, where you can indulge in group activities together, divert their attention from a particular source of stress onto something more productive, giving them activities that they can indulge in as a family and as individuals would definitely help them in this situation to overcome their stress. Encourage them to be a part of discussion so that you can understand where they are coming from. And one quick tip would definitely be learn to be a passive listener, because a lot of times they just need somebody to listen to them and their stresses so that they can feel more relieved in a particular situation.
Ms. Priyanka, thank you so much. With that, we would be coming to the close of the podcast. We really thank Better Life for supporting us in making this podcast. Yeah, I'm really glad to host you. I've learned a lot of insights how to deal with this, and we have a lot of public who has approached with queries. I'll make them reach out to Better Life. So, audience, I have a few things much before closing the podcast. It's quite certain that people can fall sick for other reasons, not because of COVID. So your HRs, ekincare is a platform with your corporates. So we have 24/7 doctor consultations. You can order medicines which will deliver at your doorstep. We have home sample collection also for your lab test done. A person comes down to your homes, collects the labs, and gets your lab test. You can see the reports in your application. So please reach out to ekincare. The link is in the description below. So, guys, I hope you guys found the entire video insightful. If you guys like the video, please give us a thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. We have more videos planned for you guys, so that we stay together in this lockdown and come out of it strong. So kindly hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to ekincare channel. The next week's podcast would be on how does one deal with his financial wellness. So the market is at a lot of stake. So we have a esteemed speaker coming for next week to talk on financial wellness. If you guys have any other queries regarding mental stress, please leave in the comment below. We would reach back to you. Thank you everyone for your lovely time. Thank you, Ms. Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Tarun. Thank you for this opportunity. And anybody seeking any mental health help, Better Life is always here to help.
Thank you, Ms. Priyanka. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you.